Hey everyone, we're on day two. Let me let the painting be in the background. Day two, my name is Tara McCullum. We're going to talk more about raising teens. If you struggle with your teen, maybe prior to them going into hormonal changes, they were sunshine, they loved to be near you, they listened to what you had to say, and all of a sudden they're in this space where they're more reclusive. They don't want to talk to you. They don't have words. Maybe they're even getting more emotional. The things that we're going to talk about today are going to help you to understand yourself as well as them. So I really hope that prior to our session, you were able to pull up your human design for yourself as well as other people. In the uh, information below, I put a link that you can go to. It's another speaker here who does just human design. That's what she's all about. You can go and you can pull those if you need to, and you can pause this and come back to me. But come back, right? Come back, and we're going to talk about your family. And the main thing that I want you to look at today is the authority. So we're not looking at your profile. We're not going to look at anything else on your chart. We're going to look at your authority, and it's going to stay that in the verbiage to the side of the diagram. And so there are 7 different authorities. And the reason why I want to go into this is because it will help you to understand. And if you haven't watched the first episode of my talks, like the first episode talks about just how to show up for a teenager in a different way than you would for an adult whose brain is already formed and the hormones are starting to find their place and settle down. But also an adult who's moved into their spiritual awareness. It's a different way to talk to them compared to when they were children. This is a really important, these 4 to 8 years are so important to setting them up as their own authority. And so this is one of the reasons why we're going into this is it'll help you to understand how you function, but it'll also help you to not understand how they function and to begin to help them to trust themselves. Because if they give their authority over to another person, even you, eventually, if they're giving their authority over to you, they're going to give it away to a friend, a girlfriend, boyfriend, a boss. And that can lead to a lot of trouble because if they're giving their authority, their trust, their confidence away, they don't trust or have confidence in themselves, and that they always believe that somebody else has better wisdom. Imagine where that can lead them, because I don't know that anybody's going to love them as deeply as you and make choices as deeply as you. And to be honest, nobody should know them like they know themselves. And so this is a really important time for you to help them in knowing themselves, right? Of really tapping in, listening to that inner authority and trusting it, and then knowing how to do it within environments with other people. So here we go. This is just to help. And if you are like, I'm not going to pull up the chart, when I read these, you can identify, does this sound like my teen? Does this sound like me? Does this sound like my husband, right? And my wife, whatever. All right, so I'm going to move it into sharing my screen so we can dive right in. Hopefully everybody can see that. But yes or no below so that I can do some changing if not. So today's talk is all about the keys to unlock happiness raising teens. Discover key insights about your family through the gift of human design. And I come to you from the Academy of Being. It is an academy that I've created that's online that teaches individuals and families ways to interact and support the way that they function with greater ease and joy, and supports relationships. So let me just jump right in. Let's see. Ooh, we're moving right in. Emotional authority. So this is 58% of the population. 58% of the population. And so often we're moving into this place of what can we do to not have emotions? And yet, if 58% of the population, their emotions are part of the authority, the part of the wisdom, part of the thing that directs them. Like we are doing a disservice when we are removing the emotions. So this is found in the types of manifesting generators, manifestors, and projectors. You don't really need to know about that right now, but it's just fun information. So decisions should not be made in the heat of the moment. And what that often means is an emotional authority can feel the intensity of emotions, whether it's frustration, anger, sadness, bewilderment, anxiety, panic attacks, whatever. And the goal here is not to stuff down the emotion, not to transform it, not to do any of those things, but to ride out that emotional wave and then wait for clarity. One of the things that I like to say to people who are an emotional authority is become really good friends with your emotions. Really good friends. Allow them to hang out, sit beside them, let them do their thing. You know, like, so if your best friend is crying, you're not going to be like, you need to stop crying. Hopefully you're not, right? If your child is crying, you're not saying, stop crying. Let them be in that moment, give them space to be there. And on the other side, it's the question of, what do you need? On the other side of that emotion, what do you need in this moment now? What would bring you the greatest expansiveness, freedom, support? What do you need there? In the moment, they're probably going to bite your head off or run to their room and need to be alone. And the amount of parents that I work with, I'm like, they're like, we need to talk it out now, you know? And, you know, they just had a fight with their friends. They need to apologize. Let everything simmer down. Nobody can hear you when emotions are running high. Nobody can find their own inner authority, and nobody can find really good solutions in the heat of the moment. There's no truth in the now. Oh my gosh, as a parent, don't make your kid stand there and keep talking to you when they're highly emotional. Please. You're going to find that all kinds of things are said that maybe neither one of you can forget. And there's really hard phrase, you know, it's like whatever was said, there was no truth in it, but it lingers in your cells forever. So just allow things to simmer down before that. But the emotions do give clarity. Okay, so for myself, I'm an emotional authority. I want to say, so I definitely, both of my kids are, and my partner, we're all emotional authorities. So in the moment, you know, let them vent if they have words, or let people, like, we all, like, one of our top love languages, and I should do a whole talk about the sixth love language that nobody talks about, which is space. The power of space is huge, especially for somebody with an emotional authority, because I don't need to talk to you about how I'm feeling right now. I just need to let it ride. And on the other side, I'm going to have clarity if you stay on my way. But I also ask my emotions questions, and I'm like, okay, so what are you telling me? And one of my favorite emotions is frustration, the fire emotions, which I'm going to do a whole nother talk about. But fire emotions often tell us there's a different choice available that we're not willing to choose because we feel like we can't. And so if your kid is feeling a lot of fiery things, you could text them that, like, what do you feel like you can't choose? Like, what choice do you feel like you cannot choose, but you need to choose that would make you feel okay again? And then just leave it with them. They need to talk to themselves, right? And please don't text it to them. Please don't text it to them in the heat of the moment. This is when everything's simmered down. Okay. So that's just one of the questions. We're going to move on. Sacral authority. There are so many times I am jealous of people with sacral authorities. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. This is the 29% of the population. It's found in manifestors and projectors. Um, and I am almost positive it is in generators too. I need to look because I'm pretty sure I have generators. So I apologize if that is wrong on my screen and you are finding that you're a sacral authority. Decisions come to you guys who have this authority spontaneous. It's a quiet knowing. I want to say to you, it's not even quiet because if you're around somebody with a sacral authority, you're going to find that they make grunts and groans. And those grunts and groans are informing them of their yeses and nos. And so it's like a lot of times, it's like those are no's. And then if somebody like sometimes it is a quiet knowing, like they lean in and they're excited. It's like, oh, there's this, yes, you know. I have a client that I work with, and she's like, I always know instantly, spontaneously whether something is a yes or no. And I just want to knock her over sometimes. I'm like, that is so awesome. I wish that I had it that easy. The problem with people with sacral authorities is many times as kids or teenagers, they were told that those inner knowings were wrong. And so they've been taught to not trust their authority, their yes and no, and they work against it in order to trust everyone else's. And this is a real way of creating a life where you don't love it. So please, your spleen, your sacral communicates only once. Look at me and my interesting information here. This slide is mixed with my next one. So I'm so sorry. The next one is going to be your splenic authority. And so your sacral, it doesn't only communicate only once, but trust your first instinct. Trust your first guttural knowing. Okay, this is what I'm going to say to you, that guttural sound, because we're going to move into the splenic authority in a second, which is slightly different and it shows up different. So my apologies, but I'm going to keep on going human to human. We've got this, right? I'm going to put a link in here with the slides that are going to be fixed if you want to check it. All right. Here we go. 8% of the population is splenic authority. This is found in manifestors and projectors. The last slide was wrong because I was like, yes, this is generators and other forms. Decisions come to you as a spontaneous, quiet knowing, whereas sacral authority, it's louder, it's guttural, it's like people make noises. The spleen does only communicate once. And this is where if you're tuned into everyone else, you're an empath, right? You're tuned into everyone else louder than yourself. You may not hear and pay attention to this small, quiet, spontaneous knowing. You need to get so deeply, intimately connected to yourself. And if you've got a kid who has a splenic authority, they need silence in order to hear themselves. And they may even be someone who whispers to you, right? They might go, and they're hoping that you hear them and that you will allow them to make a different choice that may not be what everyone else wants to make. And the more often that you can help them to trust that that is theirs and support it, the more that you are going to build confidence in themselves, especially during those teenage years when it can just feel like they can't hear themselves anymore because they're tuned in to everyone and everything else. So this is that first whisper of knowing. And yeah, so I'm going to redo my slides and put them in the link below so that you have the proper slides. And then we're going to pop back all the way to the beginning. 58% of the population, right? And then almost 30% of the population. So between those two, we have nearly 90% of the population, right? And then we move into, and give me a second, I'm going to tell you exactly the correct percentage when we go to sacral. Sacral, okay, so emotional authority is 58%. Sacral authority is 29%. Splenic is 8% and self-authority is 7%. All right. I'm going to move back. Here we go. Let's go back. All right. Here we go. We're moving on to the next one. All right. We're screen sharing again. 1.3% of the population is the ego authority, the heart. Okay, so we talked about in the very beginning, the heart is different from emotional authority. We might think that the heart is emotional. It absolutely is. However, this is found in manifestors and projectors. It's from your heart's desire, and ego is all about willpower. For all those people out there that are like, let's get rid of our egos. If we got rid of our egos and we didn't use our egos for what they were meant to do, we would all lay in bed all day and never get out. And so somebody with an ego authority may actually feel like that. If they're not living from their authority, they may feel like they have no drive. They don't know how to get up. They don't know how to move because they've been doing things like they should or following everybody else's authority instead of really living from their heart's desire and allowing that. Like willpower is like this team of horses that are inside of you that are like, gosh, I want to like bite into that. That's the kind of life that I want. And if your child, your teen has a heart authority and they have the willpower, they may like even run over others sometimes, it feels like, in order to chew the life, right, in something. Like they may just like want to eat up life. And you want them to know, like, do you really want this? Like, do you really want to be in this sport? Do you really want what do you really want in this life? Like, what do you really want post high school? And sometimes that really want, that hunger for freedom, it might be hunger for travel, it might be hunger for education, that can inform their current decisions. But if they don't have that hunger, that willpower, that heart's desire, if their choices are not connected to that, it can feel like everything is lifeless. That there's no will to carry on. And so their key phrase is follow your heart's desire. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to the next one. And did we miss one? Let me just look back. Splenic authority. We absolutely went over it. We're going to move on to self-projected authority. This is 1.7% of the population. This is found in projectors. Clarity comes through verbalizing thoughts. Now you might think, if it's women watching me or if it's men watching me, that every woman has self-projected authority because every woman wants to verbalize their thoughts. And we are not all women are not the same, but the ones that are self-projected even more so need to verbalize their thoughts and have somebody bear witness. And if you listen to my first session about teens often come to you when you don't have the ability to speak anymore. Like it's that time when you're so tired at like 11 o'clock at night or whatever o'clock at night that it is, or you're driving and you got so much on your mind and they just need to be witness to their own words. Often this happens in the teenage years. They're experimenting in different areas, even though they only have one authority. And them witnessing their own words, not even you witnessing them, they find clarity. So please, please, please allow, especially if you have a self-projected authority and you pulled the chart, but for all teens, allow them to witness their own genius by witnessing their own words. Okay. Speaking aloud helps them to reveal the best path. It also helps them to realize the path that they don't want to take. So please don't think that they're only going to share with you the paths that work, because it's not until they verbalize them that they can actually feel whether there's power in it. and direction, and it's the best one, or whether it's a no-go and they feel really bad about it. And so their key phrases, does this feel like me? Like if I took this path, it feels like it fits who I want to be and who I want to be around and how I want to act. Those are some great questions to really be with for anyone. Okay. And again, like there's something uninvasive to texting some of these questions and just letting them field it out that I'm sharing with you. So we can do that to friends sometimes too. Everything doesn't have to be a verbal conversation. Sometimes you can just send it and then they can ask themselves the question when they're in the thick of things, right? And then we have environmental authority. We're almost to the end. We have one more here. This is found in 1.6% of the population. This is found in projectors with no inner authority. And so you're like, wait a minute, like there's people out there that have no inner authority. What the heck? Absolutely. So they need to make sure. This is so, so, so important for somebody who has an environmental authority. They're absorbing and they're really checking in with the authorities outside of themselves. So they need to make sure that they're around and trusted discussions that shape their clarity. They're going to surround themselves with people that they're going to hear it. And then they're going to say, does this work for me, or does this not? But if they're constantly surrounding themselves with people who aren't trustworthy and they don't shape, create clarity, including parents sometimes, like if you can be overly pushy with your direction and your desire to keep them safe, it doesn't give them any ability to question and to see if that fits for them. Where am I is their key phrase, and who am I with? And does that work for me? Okay. The last one I want to say is lunar authority. And wow to the wow. When I heard about this one, I was just like, I just need to hang out with a reflector and just see how they function, because a lunar authority means important decisions require a full 28-day process. And now I was feeling bad for myself about having to ride out the wave of emotion. This person is riding out. And so to me, in the end, I gave great, deep, honoring respect to someone who is willing to be patient. And there is something here to, so many of us can run before the energy of things. I often say to my clients, don't run before the universe, right? Don't run in front of the universe, because then it's trying to wrangle you back and be like, I'm wanting to present this to you. And so someone with a lunar authority is deeply engaged with collective consciousness, with the moon cycle, with the waves of energy. And they're waiting to be like, have things unfold, to be deeply supported. They have so much to teach the rest of us, of linking arms with energy and allowing things to unfold. And so they're here to check in with different environments and trusted people, very much like the authority right before this one. And if your child is this, they are also here to teach you to link arms with the universe, to trust that everything will unfold, and to watch and to not run in front of the support that is being delivered to you. So that's my last slide. I'm going to just pop this off, stop sharing, and I'm going to hope that everything went through beautifully for you guys. This is a painting I did years and years ago. Coming out of so I literally did the background, which is just gross, really. Like if you think of all that stuff down there and like this, it was this space of emotion, sadness, anger, rage, the things that had happened in my life. I went to the canvas as therapy. And I realized I had also moved into so many years of just blah, because I was not listening to emotions. But once I allowed, and you can't see the foot, but it's open at the bottom where all of these emotions flood up into my body and inform me. Instead of trying to numb them out through overworking, some people it's medication, sometimes it's food, sometimes it's overgiving. When I stopped trying to numb out to gain peace all the time, radiance came out. Like I began to really feel good in my skin. I also began to interact with others in a way that really worked for them as well as for me. And I wish that I had known this in my teenage years. And so many of my clients who are parents or don't have parents who are adults, that's what they say. Like, God, I just wish I had access to this kind of information at a younger age. And these are clients who I didn't even know human design at that point. The wild thing is this: your energy, your auric field gives off, at least to me when I work with people, what works and what doesn't work for you. And so way before I knew human design, I could read what people needed to do, like whether they just needed to pause and wait, whether they needed to actually trust themselves, all the things. Your auric field gives this off. And the more that you support the way that you function, the way that your body, your like body's wisdom, your cellular wisdom, what I call your muse advocating for you, the more that you listen and you follow it, the more that life rises up and unfolds and meets you in magical and miraculous ways. And as a parent, the more that you can do this for yourself, as well as do this for others in your family, the more that your family will function with greater ease, and it will feel more peaceful, but it will also feel more dynamic. Like it within peace can be dynamism, right? It can be emotional. So you can have emotions. Just don't take your emotions out on me. And sometimes as parents, if their emotions or your emotions are being taken out, it's just giving each other space. Or for the sacral, it's like trust that they know. Don't keep questioning them. If they're like, I know, I know, I know, trust them. If they're whispering and wanting you to hear that tiny, sweet little whisper, believe them. If they're like, I need more time, why would we not give them more time? Right? So if you got questions, if you anything, put it below. I'm so happy to answer. If you want to dive deeper, there's free ways you can dive deeper. You can join me in a free Facebook group that's called Conscious Parenting with Tara McCullum, or you can dive deeper into sessions. I do sessions with grown adults that have kids, don't have kids, with families, with teens, with 20-somethings. I'm all about helping you back to the space of yourself, cultivating that trust within, and then also creating it in relationship, because it's one thing to love yourself and to find your authority, and it's another thing to do it in relationship with others. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for adding in the comments below. I hope you rock this week and have too much fun.